Hey everyone, Jonas Schwickert here, and I welcome you to this course. This will be a custom course module that I created and recorded for one of my one-on-one students, where we're going to learn Dr. John's style Boogie Woogie improvisation. It's a bit of an advanced lesson, but nonetheless, you can learn a lot of the insights that Dr. John loves to use to improvise how he does. It's a technique called slap rolls, and it's a very, very phenomenal technique, and it's really going to skyrocket your playing and your sound if you do watch this course to the very end and you take action on what you learn in here. Now, if you do want any help from me, if you also want to become one of my one-on-one students who I work super close with, check out the link in the description, because if you don't know who I am, I help people go from beginners on the piano or with Boogie Woogie to Boogie Woogie pros in the least amount of time possible. All right, and I do this for any age group. I have an 88-year-old student as well, just so you know. And click the first link in the description, and then you can check it out. You can apply, and we can see if we might be a good fit to work together one-on-one. But either way, have fun with this lesson, and I hope to hear you practicing this on a public piano at some point. Take care. Hey Ku, Jonah here. Hope you're doing great. Here is your bonus course lesson on what we covered in the last one-on-one lesson we had, where we mainly talked about that Dr. John song, Honey Dripper, and the riffs he uses, the techniques he uses, and so on. The main takeaway from that lesson we had was that he uses a lot of slap rolls, right? Yeah, that technique, we're mainly going to cover that in the beginning, just the technique to freshen that up, how to use slap rolls, what are they, how you can apply it, and how that will help you learn those Dr. John improvising parts way easier, because he does that a lot, and how you can move across the whole keyboard with that. We're going to freshen that up, and then we're going to also cover the two specific parts of the song at 1 minute 40, where he does the slap roll sequence. We're going to cover exactly the one he does, and then he moves into that. Right, that little riff that sounds a little bit like a bee, which I love. It fits the name. And we're gonna cover that, and yeah, then you have three things here that we're gonna talk about. So let's start just with the slap rolls again as a concept, how you can improvise with that technique. I'm quickly gonna demonstrate it. Right, so that was pretty much only the slap rolls that I was using within the blues scale, pentatonic scale, just in G. And if you remember, you create these slap rolls from the specific shapes that you also create riffs on. So there's a lot of shapes. For example, this one, this is the main one, you know, just if you're playing in G, having that G octave, and then you create a lot of riffs from here. Right, that's one shape. Then we have another shape that starts on that D, and it uses these keys here, and this one as well. Right, and we have another shape here. Can't really do much there. And then you're back on that shape. So those are the three main shapes. There's also this one, but you can't really do much here either. It's just to move down as a slap roll. Right. Now, how do we move between these shapes with the slap rolls?
there is always one single note or one single chord in between each slap roll to keep the rhythm as driving as it is. So most of the time we have a single key or note or chord, right? In this case, we start on that G with the G shape, and then we would do the first slap roll. So we slap a certain shape, in this case, G chord. Right? So we have the preparation, the G normally, and then that second time will be with the roll. Right? You could also do a different key as a build-up. You could do the. It's just important that there's one single without the roll before. Right? So in this case, we start on G. Then we move on to that second shape after that first slap roll, which is going to be these two keys here to prepare us for the next slap roll, which is going to be that one. So it's a G minor transitioning into a major chord and then rolling onto that. So we got the layup. Right? So from the beginning it will be single note. Do, 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 right? Right? So let's move on to the next one. We got this. Single, slap. Then we had the F here. We did this shape. That's a roll. So this is the single one. F single. And then together the slap roll. Right? So from the beginning, G single, preparation. That was the roll, preparation, slap roll. F, preparation, slap roll. Then we would have the G and the D flat as the preparation key. That's the slap roll here. Right. And then we would be back on that G, and here the preparation key is usually the B flat. Right, so we got single key, preparation key, slap roll, preparation key, slap roll, preparation key, slap roll, preparation key, slap roll, and preparation key, and slap roll. And in speed, it sounds like this. Right? Okay. How I would practice this coup is to do it very slowly, of course, and simply move from the very top just with the shapes and the slap rolls we just covered. So just copy me here and rewind the video just to get those in, and then you can start slowly with the right rhythm. You can do the counting, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, and then on 1 you will do the right. So actually the 4 and is going to be the upbeat 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So the and is always going to to be that in-between note, right? That preparation note, always on the and. And 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 4, right? You can also start the very start of it. You can also do without the preparation key, by the way. You can just start on the 1 with the roll, right? So you don't have to do the and 1. It's just sometimes within the 12-bar blues progression, you need that and 1. Right? There's a rhythm there, okay? So that's the concept of that. So just take that, apply it from the top maybe to the bottom, solo first. And then you can stop on here, or you just keep going, because you can do this endlessly, right? Just to ingrain it and get your hand used to those slap rolls. And these slap rolls are so good to ingrain, cool. Like when you put in the work on this technique, it's so prominent in every song and improvisation. It's such an important technique to put in your mind-muscle connection, to not have to think about it. Just always throwing these rolls when you're playing. Always throwing those slap rolls. They're so common. And then you can put the hand together, when you feel comfortable with just the notes and which shape to do it in. Yeah, and that's the concept of that. So now we're gonna jump into what Dr. John does exactly at 140. I'm gonna give it a quick listen again, then I'm gonna play it, and then we're gonna cover it as well. Yeah. So this was the other thing we spent a lot of time on in the lesson, because he does these slap rolls here now, what we just did, but from that G7 chord, right? So he goes, that's that first sequence before he moves on to the, so we're gonna cover both of that. First, just the slap roll down to the G here on the G7 chord. So we start, the build up here is going to be in triplets, and that's the 1, right? 1, okay, right? And this 1 is already going to be the slap roll. So this is the, right, with the roll. So this is kind of here the little build up, the preemptive note. Right? What he does here, he's just using the keys of the G7 chord. So he does, right? So he does that F, E, and then D. That's the melody, right? And in between these, he puts in the rolls. So I would do it without it first, just to get the rhythm right. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, so these two are faster, and here you have a little break from the first one to the second one, right? And then the slap rolls here are gonna be, this is the build up, the lay up, first slap roll. And then this next one, the E, is the single note, so no roll on that one. That's the in-between one, preparing you for the next slap roll. Right? Prepare, slap roll, prepare, slap roll. And then the next prepare would also be this F. But instead of going on these for the slap roll, he goes on these for the slap roll. So he moves from that G7 chord prepare, slap roll, right? And then at the end he doesn't do a slap roll, I'm pretty sure. So he just goes prepare, slap roll, prepare, slap roll, right? Prepare, key, slap roll, and then C and G, right? And it's very important you get the fingering here correct, to throw over your second finger onto that C and put it double stopped at the top with the G, so that you have all the necessary keys, the thumb for down here, right? So again, prepare, slap roll, prepare, slap roll, prepare, slap roll, prepare, and just end it off normally. Played it here without that preparation a bunch of times. So I think you should just practice that again. Just so you get that in solo, and then with the left hand, maybe just through the 12-bar blues progression, very slow. Also keep the rhythm in mind for those slap rolls, because the rolls, they happen, you know, we talked about this, they're like very light, they're like ghost notes almost. You almost don't hear them because they're so quick just at the end of the, before you move on to that next shape, right? So they're at the very end, it's like triplet 16th notes. I don't know, they're just very fast, you don't even count them, right? They're just in there at the end before you move on to the next preparation one, okay? So that's that first riff he does, sequence. And just working on that and the other sequence we worked on in the beginning. Right? That gives you so much to improvise with. Because check this out. right? I was just using that sequence, the slap rolls from what we did, and then also the one he did on the G7 chord, which is really nice. So cool, man, so cool. So really, I just practiced those two, and now let's move on to the riff that he does here. And I looked at it again, by the way, Ku, and I think actually on that C, because you know we talked about the ghost notes in here, the rolls are very fast, almost too fast, right? And before he goes into that riff, he actually does a little sequence. So I'll play the whole thing for you here first. Right? So he does the same thing, but here. When he comes down onto that shape down here from the... Right? So we're going to just cover that one first. So he does the sequence. Left on that G, so he goes something like that, right? Basically, you can try that first. It's just gonna be that G chord. G stays double stopped at the top. Try that first with me. Right? And then we add the rolls in between. It sounds more complete if I do it a little faster. Fast, but this is a lot easier than those, so I think you can do these. He's basically using that G often to roll from with the third finger, but on these he's just rolling from that D flat. He's just doing the B flat slide onto the B and then G octave. Right? So if we start from that sequence. Let's practice that sequence. That's the first riff here. That's a riff he's doing. The second riff here is this. Alright. Try it solo first, maybe for a few days, before you throw those ghost notes in there. Sounds good as well. See, sounds really good too. Okay, now we can move on to this one, hardest one. What I found out, Ku, is I think he actually does tremolos here. Could be. Or that, right? Either one of those is really hard, especially in fast tempo. Tremolos is a little bit easier, but I think for you, it's best if we do it how we did it in the one-on-one lesson, where we just did the normal roll of this riff, because this riff is common, right? Nice riff. And then you can expand that riff, make it better, just by adding normal roll. So just the notes you're playing anyway. G chord, F chord, and then C7 chord. And we also talked about putting that C at the top to make it easier. I think it's easier, so you might want to do that. Okay. I'm actually doing the many ghost notes in between because it's ingrained in my hand, but for you, just do the... or... right? Let's also go over the tremolos. Tremolos is pretty difficult. Especially in tempo. It's important that you emphasize each, but still keep the tremolo, right? It's quite hard. So you gotta practice that. I gotta practice it too, if you want to do it. But I would just suggest doing the... Okay. Now let's put it all together. And yeah, I think then covered all of that. So the sequence he does at 1:40 starts on this. Slap roll, prepare, slap roll, prepare, slap roll, prepare, end off normally. That's the first riff. You know, that slap roll stuff that we talked about. Then he does this. Sorry, that was the wrong rhythm. So he ends on... right? And then when he goes into that C, does that for 2 bars, and then he's back on the G. So let's do that together. G. We're not going to cover much more what he does after that, because I just want to keep this lesson to that. But let's cover it with both hands now, together, and yeah, maybe play along with me if you already practiced it a little bit. Right. Just remembered at the end there, the ending that you like as well in that song. We can go over that. Let me just listen to it. I'll throw it in here. Something like that, right? So it's just moving between octaves, double stopping. Right? Okay, cool. I hope this helped you. If any additional questions, let me know. I can make another course for you. And any questions about this video lesson here, also let me know, of course, and then I can give you feedback on that again as well. So take care, happy practicing, and I see you next week in one of our lessons.